But first off, I want to acknowledge that today is Trayvon Martin's would-be 24th birthday. And just want to acknowledge that and send his family, his spirit love. And in acknowledgement of it, I kind of want to like just look at, where we are today and how that law, the stand your ground law, has been manipulated and being used to, that's a form of white supremacy. I mean, you look at the stand your ground law and you can look at it in Florida, and this is what I'm going to talk about just for a little bit, and see the discrepancy between black people that use the stand your ground law as a defense and white people that use stand your ground law as a defense, because what happens with the stand your ground law, if you kill someone, you can, if the police show up and say, oh, I felt threatened, stand your ground. Legally, they're not supposed to arrest you. So if you see a lot of when you see a lot of people that say, I was standing my ground, they won't get arrested initially, and then you'll go to court and things like that. And then the judge will then determine, okay, was he standing his ground, or will we charge him for murder and he has to go to trial? And that's kind of what happens. And so in Florida, there's a distinct discrepancy against when it comes to black people claiming the stand your ground law versus white people claiming the stand your ground law. And I want to kind of read this article right here on Frontline, and it's, you guys can see it. It reads, so it says, there's a clear racial bias in the stand your ground law. And all this kind of talks about the stand your ground law. The Florida killing of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black man. This is actually published in 2012. This is 2012. Then I have an update for you guys. But the Florida killing of Trayvon Martin, an unarmed black teenager, earlier this year has brought national attention to the laws that allow people to use lethal force to defend themselves. At least 20 states, it's way more states than that right now. At least 20 states have the law with provisions that don't require civilians to flee from the intruder before fighting back, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Of those, 8 states, all of them in the South, specifically use the phrase stand your ground. That includes Florida. So, since Martin's killing, George Zimmerman invoked the stand your ground law defense, these laws have been defended by gun right groups for empowering civilians. They're also been criticized by civil rights groups for encouraging violence and being racially biased. So I'm going to skip all the way down because this is kind of what I want you guys to see. So Roman is the person who also did the survey and was doing the study on this. So Roman also found that the stand your ground law tends to track the existing racial discrepancies in homicide convictions across the U.S. Without the significant exception, whites who kill blacks in stand your ground states are more likely to be found justified in their killings. In non-stand your ground states, whites are 250% more likely to be found justified in killing a black person than a white person who kills another white person. Okay, so let me read that again so you guys can get it. So in the non-stand your ground states, whites are 250% more likely to be found justified in killing a black person than a white person who kills another white person. In the stand your ground states, the number jumps to 354%. 354% of whites are more likely to be found justified in a homicide when they use the stand your ground argument than black people are. 354%. You can see the breakdown of the killings in the chart below. The figures represent the percentage likelihood that the deaths will be found justified in comparing white killings, which was the baseline for Roman's use of comparison. So if you guys look at this, you'll be able to see it. So right now, you guys see, so black is for all, which is, you know, and then the purple is stand your ground law. So if you see right here, it says a black killing a black person. They are negative in each state, negative whatever, 25%, look like 20, 30%, 5%. Like they always get convicted. If it's a black on black, whether it's a stand your ground state, non-stand your ground state, or all the above, you know. If it's a black killing a white, same circumstance, you guys can see it. That's amazing, right? White killing black, look at this. So you see the racial divide. Now, this is statistics. These are things that people have been convicted, went to trial on, and been convicted on, and been justified on, and been cleared of murder. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And been cleared of murder. So you see, and if you can see here, these are all the states that have the stand your ground law. So all the states in red has some draft, some form of the stand your ground law. Mind you, the stand your ground law was a law drafted by, I forgot her name, but she works for the NRA. It was drafted by her and sponsored by ALEC, which is funded by the Koch brothers. So if you look here, you see these are all the states. Now you see this is way more than 20 states that has some form, some draft of the stand your ground law. You can see at the bottom that it has some form of a draft of the stand your ground law. Recently, there is a guy that is a police officer that is using the stand your ground law as a defense right now. What he's saying is this police officer killed a black guy. This police officer killed a black man while he was sitting waiting for a tow truck. And I don't think this clip has the recording on it, but thank God he was on the phone with the tow company, and the tow company has the recording, got the recording. They have it in the courts as he is being shot. And you see that the police officer was lying when he said the guy was approaching him. So now the police officer was trying to use the stand your ground law as a defense. Now, this is a plainclothes police officer as well. So mind you, black guy on the side of the road waiting for the tow truck, and a police officer who looks like just a regular person, no uniform, approaches him and try to ask him what is he doing, and ends up killing this guy. This actually just happened. It's still being processed right now. I just want you guys to see the clip.
Well, today a fired Florida police officer was charged in the fatal shooting of a 31-year-old man who was stranded on a highway in the middle of the night last October. The victim was armed legally. Prosecutors say the actions of the plainclothes cop in Palm Beach Gardens were grossly negligent. Here's David Begnaud.
Corey Jones died waiting for help. Last October, the South Florida drummer's vehicle broke down. He was on the phone with roadside assistance when Officer Newman Raja, wearing no badge and in casual clothes, pulled up and confronted him. That's according to cell phone transcripts released today. Raja, you good? Jones, I'm good. Really? Yeah, I'm good. Moments later, get your hands up. Get your hands up. Hold on. Get your hands up. Drop. At that point, Raja fired 3 shots. He later claimed Jones pulled his gun. Raja fired 3 additional shots, 1 second apart as Jones ran away.
The grand jury today found that the use of force by Mr. Raja was unjustified.
David Ehrenberg is the state's attorney.
This office has charged Mr. Raja with 2 counts. 1 count of manslaughter by culpable negligence and 1 count of attempted first-degree murder with a firearm.
The arrest report says at no time did Raja ever identify himself as a police officer, nor was he wearing a police vest, even though his supervisor had ordered him to do so. One of those bullets passed through Corey Jones' heart and lungs. His family said today this arrest sends a message that this conduct will not be tolerated from members of law enforcement. No comment tonight from the fired officer's legal team. Scott, that affidavit makes it very clear. Corey Jones never fired his loaded weapon, which he had just purchased 3 days before he was killed.
And the officer could face up to life in prison. David Begnaud on the story for us tonight. David, thank you.
But yeah, this is something that happened in 2016. And it's been prolonged and pushed back. The defense kept changing their argument. They went initially for that the guy tried to attack him, and it was a stand your ground law, and he was trying to use stand your ground. And mind you, what's amazing about this law now, public officials don't have the same rights as citizens when they're in their public, like, and when they're in their like capacity as a public official. They don't have the same rights, right? And he was trying to use the stand your ground law because he was in plain clothes, and I think they were doing something else. So that was why he was trying to actually use the stand your ground law. And so you can see that nothing's really changed from that. You have more states now that has adopted the stand your ground law that allows people to just, the stand your ground law, the law says if you, the perception is all on the person that has the gun, which is problematic in itself, right? We're saying that if you yourself, without anyone else, perceive that you're in danger, then you have the right to stand your ground and use lethal force. You know what I mean? So what if I just I'm scared of black people because of whatever, or I'm scared of Hispanics because of whatever, whatever perception I have of them, or Muslims, because of whatever. And just because they're approaching me now, I feel threatened and I can shoot them and use the stand your ground law. There's a good documentary on HBO. I think it's called 3.5 Seconds. And it talks about another kid that was shot and killed because he was playing his music too loud in Florida. And the guy used the stand your ground law. It actually worked. He went to trial. They did stand your ground law. There was an appeal. And now he's in jail for life. But yeah, they tried to use that defense. And a lot of people try to use the defense. And you see that how the defense works and the discrepancies on that defense based on your color or based on you being in law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? Zigerman's father was a judge, and because they had the bias in law enforcement as well, to me, I feel you can be black, white, Chinese, or whatever as a police officer. If you're trained in a corrupt system, you're corrupt. You're racist because it trains you to be racist. It trains you to profile people based on how they look and suspect them of being a suspect based on how they look. They train you. So you don't have to be black, white. You don't have to be white. As a police officer, you can be any color. If you're trained under that system, you're trained in a racist system, a bigoted system that targets people, then you are that. Period, point blank. Period, point blank. And that's a form of white supremacy. You got to understand what white supremacy is. We adopt white supremacy. You know what I mean? The idea of it, it's almost like assimilation. When it's a part of a culture and it's a part of a way of living, we start then to adapt that thing. And rather it's black people, black Christians or something, putting it on the LGBTQ community. That's adapting that, saying, no, you're less than because. That's what the idea of it. White supremacy doesn't mean you're white, right? I mean, it came from that, but it doesn't mean you're white. Just as the example that I used the other day about what happened with JFK during the 1960 election, when he had to go talk to all these evangelicals to convince them that he's not going to be doing the work of the Pope because he was Catholic, Irish Catholic. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. So don't be confused and think. I'm talking about an ideology, okay? An ideology. All right? So don't be distracted by the word white supremacy, right? It's ideology. I'm not saying the majority of people that adopted as white. It came from that, but it's an idea that one thing is better than another, and for that reason, we can, subjugate you, right? But anyway, I just wanted to touch on that and just say what's up, give my respects to Trayvon Martin and anyone that has to deal with this unlawful law that is definitely biased toward white people.